Good day, everyone. Today's session is about patterns of genetic transmission. The objectives of the session are to describe the patterns of genetic transmission in the determination of characteristic traits of the baby, to describe the role of dominant and recessive inheritance. Learning outcome is after the completion of the session, the students are able to understand the function of dominant and recessive gene in determination of the heredity characteristics of the baby. During the 1860s, Gregor Mendel, an Austrian monk, laid the foundation for our understanding of patterns of inheritance. He crossbreed pea plants that produced only yellow seeds with the pea plants that produced only green seeds. The resulting hybrid plants produced only yellow seeds, meaning he said that yellow was dominant over green. Yet, when he bred the yellow seeded hybrids with each other, only 75% of their offspring had yellow seeds and the other 25% had green seeds. This showed that a hereditary characteristic, that is, in the previous example, the color green, can be recessive, that is carried by an organism that does not express or show it. Mendel also tried breeding for two traits at once, crossing pea plants that produced round yellow seeds with plants that produced wrinkled green seeds. He found that color and shape were independent of each other. Mendel thus showed that hereditary traits are transmitted separately. Dominant and recessive inheritance. How many of you can curl your tongue? If some of you are inherited this ability through dominant inheritance, if your parents can curl the tongues but you can't, recessive inheritance has occurred. How do these two types of inheritance are going to work? To understand this, let us learn about the alleles. Genes that can produce alternative expressions of a characteristics are called alleles. Every person receives a pair of alleles of a given characteristic, one from each parent. When a trait is dominant, only one allele is required for the trait to be observed. A dominant allele is denoted by a capital letter A versus A, that is capital A versus small letter A. Since each parent provides one allele, the possible combinations are two capital A's, or one capital A and one small a, or two small a's. Genes that can produce alternative expressions of a characteristics such as ability or inability to curl the tongue are called alleles. Every person receives a pair of alleles for a given characteristic, one from each parent. When both alleles are the state the person is homozygous for the characteristic. When they are different, the person is heterozygous. In dominant inheritance, when a person is heterozygous for a for a particular trait, the dominant allele gowns. In other words, when an offspring receives two contradictory alleles for a trait, only one of them, the dominant, will be past. Recessive inheritance, the expression of a recessive trait, occurs only whether a person receives two recessive alleles, one from each parent. If you inherited one allele for tongue curling ability from each parent, you are homozygous for tongue curling and can curl your tongue. If, say, your mother passed on the allele for the ability and your father passed on an allele lacking it, you are heterozygous. Since the ability is dominant and its lack is recessive, you again can curl your tongue. But if you received the recessive allele from both the parents, you would not be a tongue curler. Some traits are not transmitted by simple dominant or recessive inheritance. Codominance occurs when neither of two alleles is dominant and the resulting trait reflects the influence of both. For example, the blood type AB is a combination of alleles for type A and type B. Most traits result from the polygenic inheritance, the interaction of several genes. Skin color is the result of 3 or more sets of genes on 3 different chromosomes. Multifactorial transmission also can occur, that is the combination of genetic and environmental factors to produce certain complex traits. Genotypes and phenotypes. Genotypes, that is the genetic makeup of a person containing both expressed and unexpressed characteristics. Except for monozygotic twins, no two people have the same genotype. Offspring whose genotype is either capital A and capital A, or capital A and small a will have the dominant trait expressed phenotypically, while small letter a individuals express the recessive trait. Phenotypes are the observable characteristics of a person. A phenotype is an individual's observable traits such as height, eye color, and blood type. The genetic contribution to the phenotype is called the genotype. Some traits are largely determined by the genotype, while other traits are largely determined by environmental factors. Environmental influences combine with genetic influences to determine how a particular genotype is translated into a particular phenotype, the way a person looks, thinks, feels, or behaves. So here is this picture shows us how we can compare between the genotype and the phenotype. So the phenotype is the observable aspect of an organism, whereas the genotype is the genetic makeup of a person. So the phenotype is going to occur because of the interaction of the genes as well as the environment. Thank you.